Welcome back to another episode of the Advocacy Angle. I'm Louis Dettorre, and joining me today to unpack what's happening at the Real Estate Commission is our very special guest, Daniel Moskowitz. Daniel's the current South Carolina Real Estate Commissioner for Congressional District 1. He served the Realtor organization in many capacities over the years, both at the local and state level. As the 2017 president for the Hilton Head Area Realtors, was named the 2023 Realtor of the Year, and climbed the ranks at the state level to serve as our Region 2 Vice President and Chair of both the Legal and Ethical Group and the Forms Committee. It's clear that all of his phenomenal service has paved the way to where he is now. Daniel, it's an honor to have you on the show. Welcome.
Louis, thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely.
Privileged to be here.
We're so happy that you're here, and we have a lot of exciting things to talk about around the Real Estate Commission, regulatory updates, and otherwise. But we're standing in the midst of a legend, both from the RPAC Grand Prix and also just driving around our streets and local communities. So I wanted to kick this off, and not to put you on the spot, but I wanted to talk a little bit about your passion for racing. So surprise to you, but we do have a few videos that we wanted to put up, and
okay.
I think this might be a video of Daniel on the streets. I'd love for you just to share what are we seeing here? What is this?
Yeah, so this is the one that got away. This was a Formula 3 car. That's the front stretch of Daytona, about 170 miles an hour.
Oh wow!
It's the same track they run the 24 hours of Daytona on. You go past the start-finish line, hard brake, then into the infield. And this is a club racing event, the Sports Car Club of America. I believe that's what it stands for, SCCA.
So Daniel, how fast are you going right here?
I think we speed upwards of 100 back down to maybe, 45 through there, 50, right back up, maybe 120 or so, 130 through here, slight bend to the left, back out to the right, slowing down a lot more into the turn, maybe 35. This was out in a qualifying session, and we did get the pole that day, and going into the first turn of the infield, got booted in the rear by a much faster Formula Swift, and in any case, ended up finishing second, held it together. But it's amazing to fly out there on the banking right up near the wall and then use the gradual embankment to help you accelerate. This is the one I can't get away from. The first one was the one that got away. This one, it's a radical, and we've been trying to tame it. Bought it the way I approach racing. Get something that needs a little love, give it the love and tender care, and when I use up the equity, it goes back to the market. But anyway.
Well, and that's taking your business acumen and your real estate knowledge and putting it in practice into your business sense when it gets back out on the market, huh?
Yeah. There's the economics, but the application of racing fits so well metaphorically into what we do in real estate. You have the track you want to drive, right?
Sure.
The race you want to race. But if it's a rainy day and you keep trying to do the same thing, you're going to be off track. You aren't going to arrive where you want to in the end. You bobble in a turn. You still know the outcome. You just shift what you're doing. And in any case, I've found many ways to justify my hobby in relationship to what I do.
Where did your passion for racing come from?
Yeah. So my father's. It was a hobby of his growing up. And in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Sure.
And he had done the road course racing, but I got more involved when he was doing oval track cars, which was very cool. I had the privilege as I jumped into it, and I had to learn to build them, repair them,
Sure.
do everything. And so I started doing that probably around 11, 12, 13. But I had the opportunity to race with Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kurt and Kyle Busch, to Joey Logano, many of the people who chose not to go to college, like me, and are NASCAR legends now.
Well, that's amazing. And before we get into business, I wanted to share, so South Carolina Realtors know your driving, your capabilities on the track. It was last year to last 2 years. We had a little event called the unpack Grand Prix, and it was a great, well attended event as well. And after seeing you on the track the first year, the second time it was not just the unpack Grand Prix. It was, we've got to beat Daniel. This is
I don't know what you're talking about, Louis.
Daniel has no idea what we're talking about. All right, so if we take your, in all seriousness, take the racing experience aside, and thank you for sharing about your father. Those experiences, as growing up, really do shape the professional and personal ways that we move forward in the decisions that we make. But I wanted to just ask in follow up with you. You had talked about service to your local association, to Hilton Head Area Realtors, and I know you served on their legislative committee from a very early stage. In fact, really helped the local association craft some of the policies and to put them into the successful position that they operate from now. Can you share a little bit about that initial experience?
Yeah, I'd love to. So it was prior to us having a full-time government affairs director, or a GAD, right? Because it takes you a while to learn the acronyms.
Sure. There are so many.
A cheat sheet, right? That should be a part of the education process. In any case, we did not have one, and at our local association, we attempted to run a mayoral candidate screening process. And in the structure that was well intended by all that were in participation, unfortunately, the message does not get through from the liaison to the board of directors. And so, in a sense, it felt like a wasted experience. Sure. And yes, there were a few torque and tensions in the moment, but wow, immediately, even without the impact, being on the candidate screening, asking the direct questions to those candidates, no matter what happened next, they knew who I was, right? They knew me by name and I knew them by name, and they knew I cared about the community. And that was really cool. You see more of that the more involved you are in government affairs. But from that point, and our awesome CEO, Gene Beck, at that time, who has recently retired. We miss having her, very excited to have Michelle on board. But we decided it was time to get a government affairs director. And Jocelyn Steiger came on board. And we were so privileged to have Jocelyn. She came from, I think, Joe Wilson's advocacy team, or I don't know what the title is, that she held, but got the privilege of interviewing her. And then she came on board and she wanted to go. And we were like, okay, well, what happens next? And then it was, okay, well, we need a public policy guide. It's like, what's that? So we got some from other associations and we aligned it to kind of our values, our experience. And then it was, okay, we need a candidate screening kind of guide outline. And I remember, it was Larry Myers, Mike Wepner, and Willie Fanning. We got together with Jocelyn and spent a lot of time putting those documents together. Sure, Andy Twisdale and Susan Jacobson were a part of that group. And then we had an election or a screening process. And I think in our first year, we immediately jumped into something like 48 candidates. They had far more recently. And so it's amazing the process is still running, but wow, it was cool. It was exhausting. And then we put out a guide to the association. Then our association started seeing more and more value. It was cool to see that the pool of RPAC contributions that give us the pedestal, the platform to endorse, support, and engage efforts in our community and the surrounding areas, whether it's issues, mobilization funds, to obtaining, figures back from polling efforts or just studies, to endorsing or basically supporting our candidates. It's remarkable. And so we're informing our members, but most importantly, as you know, and in a very largely conservative state, it's cool that in that forum, it is purple. It's not red, it's not blue, it's purple. It's right down the middle. And so the focus on the questions and the responses is, housing, it's private property rights, it's quality of life. And we have a great legislative committee. It's integral having a government affairs director. It's integral having you at the state level. But wow, has it changed over the course of time where locally, because of those efforts, town council comes to us when they are looking for feedback and direction, and it's not because we're a large trade group and potentially a force to be reckoned with. It's because we've shown value back.
That's right.
Through conversations, through those candidate screenings, and then participation and showing in numbers at events.
Absolutely.
And I know I'm throwing your own Kool-Aid at you.
No, it's exciting to hear some of these things repeated back and knowing that that's what's being communicated in the culture that's at the local association and throughout our state for this. The foundation, the building blocks around advocacy, members like yourself, leaders in the local community, local association, building those so that the rest can flourish. And Jocelyn, I know, has held a big hand in that to support that. She's a great partner to SCR, and we appreciate her, but also appreciate the members that have guided and built that and signal their support to staff at these associations, to the state and to the local, that the work that's done is done. That's the work that's done on behalf of members is going in the same direction as the vision of leaders throughout the state. So we appreciate that.
Look, if you are newer in the profession and you're wondering, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, I don't have the energy to get involved. Well, look, as soon as you get involved, you become knowledgeable on your community. You know more people and they know you. It's great to be recognized when you're out and in front of clients, but most importantly for your clients and being a true advocate of their interest, it's wonderful to know everything that's going on, right? So they feel good. They feel they aren't judging you on your time and tenure in the profession. They're judging you on the fact that you are different than the others they may have encountered over the past in buying and selling a property, because you know what's going on. And to those that are busy in the profession, there's ways to contribute to make your voice more heard. And there's small bits and pieces that are worth parking some of your time to become involved and benefit both your clients and their private property rights and our advocacy efforts there, because who else is? Who else does?
That's powerful.
Who does?
That's powerful.
Does anybody out there advocating for private property rights like the Realtors Association?
Realtors are standing in the gap between on all these issues. So
yeah, so support your clients beyond the transaction.
Absolutely. Thank you, Daniel. So taking that into account, let's transition and begin to pivot towards the Real Estate Commission. There's a meeting coming up here tomorrow. It's what you volunteered and make the drive down from Hilton Head Island, beautiful Hilton Head Island, to Columbia, a beautiful Columbia, to spend the day and serve at the commission tomorrow. But you have served as Real Estate Commissioner for Congressional District 1 since March of last year.
Yeah,
so it's
right
it's been a little while too. So I'm curious to hear a little bit about your takeaways for the time that you have served up until now, and a little bit about your path to the commission.
Yeah, well, thank you. And it is a privilege to serve at that level. So went in there. I remember the first day, first meeting, I think I read license law. I felt I had a pretty good knowledge of it from the 20 years or so of experience. But wow, I must have read it like 5 or 6 times the week or two prior. Went in, suit, tie, everything, really nervous, looking for an opportunity to contribute.
Sure.
And, not much of an orientation. But then we went into the executive session, and it was great. Is the formality, the guard is let down. It's casual, common language, informal speak, and everyone is instantly relatable. And what a dynamic group of commissioners. We have some of the best representation in terms of staff that they've had for as long as many of the commissioners have served. I think maybe Commissioner Stackhouse might be more tenured, around 14 years, give or take. And it's great to hear that. And immediately the ability to make an impact, have a voice, be heard, and be respected. It's great also to see the diversity of knowledge that exists there. From, we've got commissioners with great experience in the commercial realm. We have two fantastic attorneys. We have commissioners in rental management to, obviously never a shortage of residential sales, but, retirement, we've got farmland, agriculture knowledge. So the ability to have a profound, broad scope and to also have disagreements, but be really professional in how we navigate those. I'm learning so much, and I really feel a part of the group where I can make a difference. It's a very cohesive organization. I'm really impressed with it.
Well, that's great. That's great to hear. I know just listening to the commission meetings and hearing the discussion, you definitely take up a array of issues that come to your attention and proactive to information that would be most useful to South Carolina's licensees, and that's been important to watch. What can you say? So the Real Estate Commission has been focusing on guidance documents around an array of topics too. Some recent ones that are coming up. Well, less into the specifics, but just in generalities. Can you speak to what is the focus on guidance documents? How can folks access them, and what should they really pull from those guidance documents?
Oh, please use them, right? Look at them. You have, as I said, I've read through license law like 5 or 6 times. It's boring, right? It just is. And there's a lot that's not covered. When you go to continuing education, you aren't learning how to run your profession. You aren't necessarily always hearing all the examples that may apply to certain statutes. This unwinds that a little bit. You have the statutes, which are, well, they're the statutes. And then you have, it's kind of like the what it is. And then you have your regulation. And it's kind of maybe a little bit of how the statutes come together. And then you have the guidance documents, which is kind of why, how, and what, all blended in real practice application. So it's intended, while it does quote those the specific statute, it unwinds it to case examples you might be experiencing, but gives you the perspective of why it's relevant in terms of not only you as a licensed law practitioner, but also a member of the public. And so if you're a member of the public and you happen to review those documents, there's somewhat of an inverse knowledge or application you may find that's beneficial to your situation. And after all, on the Real Estate Commission, we are representing the interest of the public.
Sure. Absolutely. So those guidance documents are really useful resources for the public as well as our real estate licensees throughout South Carolina.
Yeah, some of them more so than others.
Sure.
Certainly.
So if we were to bring back to, again, speaking to South Carolina licensees that are in the trenches day to day helping buyers and sellers, what are the top takeaways, hot topics, do not do list, or you should be doing this?
Over the course of transition in our industry, we've seen, and especially rise in social media and then flattering others by copying what they're doing, not always the best decision. The advertising and marketing of other people's listings. We know the statutes identify, the written authorization from the seller and the written authorization from the listing brokerage. But there's a wide array of real estate agents that are marketing other people's listings. And imagine you as a consumer, right? You recognize that, wait a second, that's my living room. This is my property being utilized for the benefit, of your commercial backdrop to drive you business to make it look like, you're busy. And, to the consumer side, you understand why it's an exclusive right to sell. I'm giving you, the licensee, the firm, the exclusive authorization to market and promote my property. Not every single person in the industry. And when someone inquires, I want you to be the advocate, the spokesperson for that. And so, some of the documents unwind some of those elements to help you understand how, not to say you can't do it, but to help you understand how to do it and how to do it right. And certain things like that are how we are respectful to one another in the industry, but are also appreciated short and long term, as by members of the public, right?
Absolutely.
Then you have other, go to your broker in charge, value your broker in charge, right? We have documents out there for what you might be experiencing when you encounter limited service brokerages, right? What's incredible to hear, and I guess I should put the disclaimer out there that in this forum, any of my opinions do not represent the value or the opinions of the Real Estate Commission. So I'm trying to generalize on anything I share. But oftentimes when you encounter the limited service brokerages, there's certain instructions that may exist in the MLS, for how you're to communicate offers, deliver paperwork, those types of things. But as far as, statute goes, there's nothing in our statute that says, you can limit duties. Your duties are established. You have certain responsibilities. You have certain obligations, whether they are a client or whether they are a customer.
These are all considerations that weigh heavy on the broker in charge, and ultimately that term carries weight. Right?
Yeah.
So to rely on your broker in charge for questions that you may have within your company policy and your procedure on how you deal with these situations, the broker in charge is going to have that direction and that answer for you. Dare I say so?
Take, for example, the limited service brokerage scenario or encounter. And there is nothing wrong with a limited service brokerage. That's totally fine. I mean, really, any model can exist. And so I don't want any of my words to be confused. But it's nice for the agent when they may be encountering an experience with somebody who's represented by another party to say, not trying to make this uncomfortable. I'm in this scenario. Here, in fact, is this guidance document. It's helpful for the consumer to understand, as it is to the agent to understand maybe this is the way things could be done in alignment with statute. I must say it's not legal advice, it's guidance. But the nice thing is it helps address the questions of how you navigate circumstances. And the answer is that reading the statute does not directly provide.
Absolutely. So two other documents I wanted to ask you about recently. So license law was updated very recently, and there are some upcoming changes that are dictated by the law change, but articulated in the guidance document around team names, advertising, and licensees, real estate professionals, realtors would be in their best interest to print out that guidance document, read it, put it on their nightstand, read it, and it should answer any questions they have. And if they have further questions, let the commission know, let SCR know, and that can be helpful to them. The takeaway that I had from the guidance document as well is that although the changes go into effect in May of 2027, the commission is really encouraging, make those changes now, comply with the law early. You will not be in non-compliance if you're just proactive to that, and would encourage just to get that taken care of and comply with new license law changes.
Yes, I would say the touches and briefs over the past, certainly a little over 2 years at this point, has been such that people don't feel rushed. You don't want to
Sure.
wait till the last minute. But there's been a 3-year, and I can say as running a brokerage, the number of signs we go through, the changes in magazine advertisement and stuff. There's a 3-year cycle. You're able to transition a lot. So I hope everyone's taking advantage of that. If not, it's time to get on board with
Absolutely
adopting.
And that was consideration that was put together in making these statutory updates, as well as what was reflected in the guidance, is to allow for ample time to update. So appreciate your work on that. So we're getting our time is getting short, but one thing that I like to ask, and I had the privilege of speaking to Commissioner Andy Lee just a few weeks ago, or about a month ago. Time is all blurring together in the advocacy space, right? But one question that I asked him as well is a question that I received often when I was a commissioner, was, what's making your phone ring? And that often was a question and a pivot point of what's making your phone ring, what kind of issues are coming up that you see, priorities that you see the commission may have, and what's making you stay up at night, because heavy is the burden of commission issues. So with that, I hand it to you.
There's 2 things I want to touch on, and then a third point I really want to stress. One, you look at any of the media headlines related to real estate, and at least, every second one is about the private listing networks.
Sure.
And so that's a hot topic across the country at the state level, in the association. And so that's one that's, you want to do everything perfectly, right? And you want to gather information. And it's nice to be navigating that with what we know today to be true, and obviously to be more informative to the licensees and members of the public, and anything that may come about. The second one, it is really interesting to see, and maybe this is a personal one, just I love what we were successful in advocating, and what Tim Scott presented to us in DC last week is the road to housing, right? With what we've seen with a lot of these investment groups buying in from out of state, we've seen varying cases where you have potentially unlicensed individuals, or you don't have the property management expertise or practice that may be in accordance with state statute. And it's nice to see maybe somewhat of a slowdown on the horizon with what they're doing federally. But that's really difficult, because it's tough to think about the person who may be renting a property that may not be getting the treatment that they should, maybe not getting the conditions or qualities that they should, and or to the licensee or soon to be licensee or not licensee who's being forced into a certain role by a corporation that doesn't necessarily exist in our state. And so, that's one of the things that I've just found myself attached to. But you know what? I've been doing all the talking, and I hope that everyone knows how very little I have in terms of commission experience and knowledge to you, Louis. You served for about 10 years, I believe, give or take, little, on the Arizona Real Estate Commission, and it's a different structure there. And you served as the deputy commissioner, and then the commissioner, which is over the board of, essentially what level of service that I provide. But your involvement was also very integral to being, you're essentially the CEO, the operator. You're running the organization. I saw the newsletters. So you tell me about commissioner experience.
Well, Commissioner
Mr. Overly qualified to be delivering this interview.
Commissioner Moskowitz is flipping the script on me. So no, I had a very unique opportunity that spanned probably over a decade before I came to South Carolina. In Arizona. So I worked with the Arizona Department of Real Estate in many capacities. I worked on legislative updates and things at the Arizona legislature, as well as overseeing the agency of, we had about 40 employees or so, and responsible for 92,000 licensees. And the structure was a bit different in South Carolina in that the commissioner was responsible for it all, and heavy is the head for the commissioner. And as things change as well, the opportunity changed there as well, which brought me to South Carolina, which was a blessing. But during that time, it was really informative and helped shape some of the just advocacy perspectives and honestly, the love of real estate. During that time, it's hard to be in this business if you don't have a passion for it, and a passion, as you just so clearly articulate, passion around serving other people and other professionals, as well as the public that ultimately we all serve. So thank you for reminding me. It's always a blast from the past to think about for that. But no, I'm humbled to be able to serve South Carolina and South Carolina realtors through this, and it's awesome to stand here and talk with you. So
I hope everybody knows just how qualified Louis is on guidance, understanding the consumer, understanding regulation. And wow, we are so fortunate to have you on the
thank you, Daniel,
on our team.
So tomorrow, a big real estate commission meeting. I know you're here for that. And we just so appreciate your time here today, and I'll look forward to seeing you tomorrow at the commission.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Louis,
Daniel.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Realtors, for tuning in, and we will see you next time on the Advocacy Angle, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Should I have been looking? I should have been looking at him.